Hello, and welcome to Totally Schway, Flipside, a podcast about whatever the hell I want it to be about. My name is Mary.
And my name is Luke.
And it's very sunny outside, so everybody's happy.
Except for me.
I hope you could hear the sarcasm in my voice, but I'm American, so it's hard for me to do sarcasm unless I'm just being really moody that day. Okay, so we're gonna get straight into this today. It is a bit of a different one because today's topic is going to be about my favorite actor,
And mine.
Marlon Brando. So, like I said, I'm just gonna start getting into it. Before we talk about the man, the myth, the legend, not so much of a myth, we need to go back. Okay, so I have loved Marlon Brando since I was a little girl. I've always loved classic movies. They've always been my preferred movie to watch. Black and white movies. If something was on, I was in front of the TV. It all started, though, the Marlon Brando addiction started with Julius Caesar. Because it combines the best of two of my favorite things. I love Shakespeare and I love Marlon Brando. When I watched that, it I said this to my English teacher at the time, right after I watched it. I looked them in the eyes and I said, this movie has changed my life. Obviously, I was being dramatic. But now that I think this was nearly 20 years ago now. If not, actually it's been longer than that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like in like junior high or whatever. I had liked Marlon Brando before, but this movie really changed it for me. And I looked down, over 20 years later, and I have a Brando tattoo on my wrist. It's just Brando. A lot of people think it's Brandon because my Apple Watch, it looks like my Apple Watch is covering the N, but it's not. It's Brando. And then, I'm going to get to Luke in a minute. I started to I went to, because my brother worked at Hollywood Video at the time, or was just about to start working at Hollywood Video at the time. It was a place that we went to a lot because my family are big movie people. It is something that is kind of ingrained in us to love cinema, to love, classic movies, and all of that. So reading and watching movies were huge in my family, or at least to me and my little family that I had. So I got to literally watch some of the movies that I hadn't seen before because I could just ask my brother to rent me a movie, or I could, before he worked there, I could just have my grandparents and either go to like Barnes and Noble or wherever sold DVDs at the time and just go and get the movies. And it was an addiction because I couldn't get enough. But then one day I was like, okay, I've had a lot. I don't need to watch every single movie because I feel that if I watched every single movie, then I felt that my love for that would just stop. So I haven't seen every single Brando movie, which is surprising, but I've seen most of them.
Yeah, you've seen all of the important ones.
Yeah. And some of the not so important movies. When did it start for you?
A similar story, but the movie they made us watch in school was A Streetcar Named Desire.
Oh, yes.
Because we studied that for, I think it was GCSE English, yeah, so I would have been like 14, 15. I'd seen Marlon Brando in movies before. I'd seen The Godfather. I'd seen Superman. That's the first movie I remember seeing him in. And I wasn't particularly impressed with his Kryptonian accent, which sounded like a plummy English accent.
Yeah.
But Streetcar Named Desire spoke to me.
Yeah.
And I respond very well to things that speak to me. And I suppose, actually, one thing we should probably say is there maybe people listening to this saying, who is Marlon Brando? As hard as that is to believe, there are people that don't know who he was.
So Marlon Brando was one beautiful creature. And I say this because his acting in the the late 40s, early 1950s, from stage to screen, completely changed the way some people were acting.
Yes.
Not acting as in like, oh, they're moody or whatever. Acting is in like the art of acting. And what was great about him is he did something called method acting. And method acting is one of those things that I feel that it's thrown around a lot, because a lot of people think they're doing method, but actually it's a different version of,
I can explain. So a lot of people think, so like I'll use the example of Jared Leto's method acting when he was playing the Joker, when he started sending his castmates dead animals, like dead rats.
Ledger.
Yeah, Heath Ledger to a lesser extent. I think Heath Ledger was probably doing it in a better way. Yeah. But so an example of Brando's method acting is in his first movie, a movie called The Men that came out in 1960. Yes. He was playing a young man that had come back from war and was now paralyzed from the waist down. So he spent 2 weeks in a veterans hospital, just seeing how they lived and sitting among them and talking to them about their experiences and their feelings and their emotions, etc. There's a funny story where a nurse mistook him for one of the patients, and she said to him something along the lines of, this was a Catholic hospital, I should say, and she was like, if you just believe in Jesus hard enough, you will be healed. So he got up out of his chair. I went, oh my God, I'm healed! And did a little tap dance to mock them.
Yeah. I think a lot of where Brando got his method from was it was the Strasbergs, wasn't it?
Well, yes, yeah. And Stella Adler was his acting teacher, but they got it from Stanislavski. I have Stanislavski's book on acting. It's actually up in our storage unit. Yeah. And there was just one chapter that really threw me off, and it was talking about conveying different shades of purple through performance. And I was like, okay, this is a bit...
Isn't that like synesthesia or something?
I don't know.
Because that is an actual thing that people can feel. They can feel colors, or they can see, or what they see they can feel in color or something like that. It's beautiful. It's also dealing with smell. So.
Yes, but basically the what a lot of people refer to as method acting isn't really method acting. Method acting isn't, putting yourself, well, I suppose in a way it is putting yourself in a person's position. It's basically informing your performance with life experiences versus, classical actors, people like, let's say, Laurence Olivier, for instance, very good actor, particularly good for the stage because he was able to project his voice very far and spoke very clearly. I would say that those kind of actors that came from the classically trained stage era, they were perfectly good in movies. But the thing is, with movies, with the proximity of the camera, you didn't need to draw attention to yourself. No. You didn't need to project your voice. And that's something that Brando picked up on.
Yeah.
So he would talk quietly. Some people accused him of mumbling his lines, but he was just speaking like a normal person would, rather than speaking clearly and making sure that every single part of the word spoken was clearly heard by everyone.
Yeah.
He might just kind of talk like this, like a normal person might.
Yeah. And he took all of the methods that were before him, and he created his own, just like every actor does now. In order to become a great actor, you have to make it your own. And that's exactly what we literally witness this happen. From, if you see old video of him on the stage, and then you see The Men, for example, and then right after that, if you watch A Streetcar Named Desire, and then after that, you watch Apocalypse Now, you can actually see the progression and how beautiful it is. I'm getting so excited, my throat's making noises because I keep like going, I forgot about this, blah, 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 blah. So Marlon Brando is in some of he's long past now.
Yeah, he died in 2004, so it's been 20 odd years, 21 years.
Yeah. He was in some of the best movies of the 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
So you had Streetcar Named Desire. You had
On the Waterfront.
On the Waterfront. You had Apocalypse Now, and then obviously The Godfather.
Superman, as I said. Superman is a very good movie.
Yeah.
I know you laugh, but it is a very good movie.
There was also a really lovely movie that I think we can like segue into because it kind of talks about how we met, and I think that's a huge part of talking about Marlon Brando from the two of us. Is in 1972. Was it 72?
71.
71, 72. There was a movie called Last Tango in Paris. Now, backstory about this movie. I'm not going to tell you the entire plot of it or anything because that could probably get demonetized or something. But it's a weird love story is how I like to frame it. It's a love story that's very tragic, that is very real. Or it feels real, even though it's not real. And it's very honest, is how Bernardo Bertolucci.
Yeah.
How it was a beautiful film. Completely. Yes. It is very, very controversial, though, because, you know, it's a movie that has a lot of interactions, if you will.
Yes. Yeah. So to kind of... I'll elaborate a little bit more on the plot. So it's essentially two people, an older man and a younger woman who kind of meet in Paris, yes, and kind of get over their general despair with life by having anonymous sexual encounters with each other.
Yeah.
And it's very much... So it's not a traditional Hollywood movie. And one of the reasons why it was so shocking is Marlon Brando was one of the biggest stars of the 1950s and 60s. Mm-hmm. And in the sort of late 60s, early 70s, cinema went through something of a revolution, like making more artistic films, not necessarily just like, you know, adaptations of books or the Bible, for instance. There were smaller budget, more independent films that were more abstract. Mm-hmm. And getting Marlon Brando to star in essentially an Italian-French co-production that is basically an erotic film.
Yeah.
Was very shocking, and the language in it as well. Now, Brando, I don't mean like French, because okay, they do speak French quite a bit in it, but Brando was very frank with his language, lots of profanity. Let's put it that way.
When I say it's honest,
yes,
that's part of it, because when I watched this movie for the first time, I was not at an appropriate age where I should have been watching this, but I'm very fortunate that my grandparents trusted me enough to watch films like, you know, Apocalypse Now or Last Tango in Paris and just be like, oh, okay, whatever. But when I watched this film, I said to myself, as I was watching it, there's a particular scene where he's talking to Maria's character, and it's just a random conversation. It's nothing that is, you know, particularly important to the film at all. Doesn't add anything to it other than the language used in it. I was like, oh my God, this sounds like one of my mom's friends or like something like that. I was like, I've never seen this in a movie. And the word that he used was a word that I don't really care for it.
It's one that makes Americans' toes curl and spontaneously combust, but the English use it as punctuation.
Yeah, but when I heard it and I was like, oh, I've heard people speak like this when they're trying to like, you know, prove a point or try to make themselves look cool, but the way that Brando used it, it was just like Luke said, like the English use it sometimes.
Very matter of fact.
Yeah, and there's so many pieces of that movie that I love. I mean, there are pieces of that movie I do not love. After becoming an adult and being able to read things and have things come out, it's very unfortunate that when we love these movies, sometimes we have to we have to look at the art. And for me, that is very hard because I have not been able to watch this movie since I heard about some of the controversies. If you want to know about those, you can easily find them on the internet. But it just really sucks because something that was so beautiful, beautifully made and everything, it kind of failed me a little bit in this century. So
Yeah,
and it's not just that movie. There's a lot of movies like that, but
there's a lot of people like that
yeah,
as
a lot
well.
of
I mean,
people.
to a certain extent, Brando was
Oh,
like
no,
that as
yeah,
well. Well,
and that's one thing I need to say straight up. I've read song. Okay, so Brando wrote an autobiography called "Songs My Mother Taught Me." I think that is very. Some points of the book are very exaggerated, um, but I believe some points are very beautiful. But he himself will tell you in that book if you read it, not he's not the happy-go-lucky guy. He is a guy that has had pain and all of this, and he also did things that he shouldn't have done. I'm not making up for that, or I'm not taking up for him by any means, because if you are a bad person, you are a bad person. But the difference between some people is some people can't admit it, some people can.
yes, yes. So, I mean, the kind of things we're talking about are just like tempestuous love affairs and, infidelity, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. um
And yeah, it's very difficult to sum up an entire life of a person in
yeah,
like a couple of sentences. But I think the thing I take away from it is just how, as you said earlier, it was very kind of real and visceral. His performances
yeah.
particularly in Last Tango in Paris, spoke to me as well. I saw that. I first saw that when I was 18, I think. Might have been 19. And I mean, I've mentioned this before, but I did not have a very happy childhood and early adulthood. I was very unhappy all the time, and this movie really spoke to me.
There's a scene at the very end where something happens and you
There's a scene
yeah,
where something
we'll try
happens.
to
Oh
be
my
like
god!
less no spoilers here, but there's a scene at the end of the movie after Brando speaks to Maria's character, and what moved me so much about that particular scene is the fact that the character got to change their mind, and it wasn't in this you know, the 1990s movie when the guy's like, I'm not going to go after the girl. Then they meet at the airport.
Yeah.
You think that's going to happen. Obviously, there's no airport. You think that's going to happen. But then reality kicks in. Like, you actually see a little bit of reality in this, that sometimes things don't always work out. And sometimes when you do change your mind, it's not for the best. Or if you do things, you're gonna have repercussions for that. And Brando's face in the last scene that he is in, it conveys so much. Like, someone who might not know or might not care about anything like that would look at this and be like, oh, hey, that's just, whatever. That's Marlon Brando. I'm like, no. He's got emotion in his nose. Like,
Yeah.
like it is so different than just. I feel that Kevin Conroy was the Marlon Brando voice acting. Do you know what I mean? And then Marlon Brando obviously helped change things, but that particular thing, the fact that someone can change their mind, but it's not always like the movies. It really got to me because at the time that I first watched this, um, I had not I was not in a great place. And it wasn't fair how I felt um in life. And then I watched this and it is one of those things where I also realized, yes, this is fictional and this is a story, but some people feel just like me and they also feel that it's not fair. And then some things, when you really, really want something, sometimes it just doesn't work out. And you either live or you die with that decision. And yeah, that spoke to me. So one of the reasons why I love Last Tango in Paris is not only because of the beautiful movie that it is. the funny thing about that is it was an NC-17 movie when I first watched it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that it's NC-17 anymore. Um, but it was very controversial for you to walk out of any place with that in your hand in Oklahoma. Like it was weird because people knew what it was. Like the people that you were renting it from or whatever knew. They were like, "Oh, you're sure gonna let her watch this?" No, no, no. You do not say that to Miss Susan, which was my grandmother's name. The person that said that to her when we rented the movie for the first time, my grandma looked that person in the eyes and was like, "I watch worse on Cinemax." She might have said Skinamax, knowing my grandma, but it was funny, and I always find that particular conversation in my head like a really, I don't know, happy experience, even though you shouldn't think that about Last Tango. But also, Last Tango helped me find my husband. And now we're going to fast forward a little bit in time to the year 2005. A year after Marlon Brando, or a little over a year after Marlon Brando died, I met a guy that actually knew something about Last Tango in Paris on MySpace. And that guy sitting next to me today, his name is Luke. And we started speaking to each other about like classic movies and stuff like that. And we became really good friends. And then I guess we started talking about more than just movies. Then it became like some TV shows. You would tell me stuff I should watch. Like I remember you told me to watch No by Mouth and some other movies and stuff like that. And I really liked it. And I remember talking about Sexy Beast quite a bit because I had literally just watched it, and then you said something about it because I said, "Oh, this is what I was watching," and then you gave me like a list of things to watch, and it was really great because now I've liked Ray Winston ever since, so that's awesome. And then fast forward again, 3 years later to 2008, Luke comes over and meets me in Oklahoma, and then we fall in love. Like, so a lot of our love story we have to credit Marlon Brando for, even though he had been gone at least a year before we even started talking to each other. And I find that fascinating, even though it happened to me, because I was a teenager. You were a teenager too when we first started talking.
Yeah.
Um, and we were talking about classic movies and the art of movies. And it was so cool because I had always been called a little bit weird or whatever because, although my family are very versed in like cinema and stuff like that, some of the movies that I watched, they were just like, "Oh, not that one again," or something. Because TCM was my background music. It was my white noise when I was a child and teenager and stuff, and young adult. And Luke got that. And it was really awesome because then we realized that we liked other stuff like Batman, for example, Batman the Animated Series. And it was just really cool. The way that our love story, kind of happened because of, our love of Marlon Brando. Because without Marlon Brando, I don't think we would have ever actually met. Uh, so there's a little bit of our love story there. To be honest with you, our love story is two friends, I guess, fell in love, and then now we're here. There's more to it than that. And I'm very lucky because I married Luke when I was 21.
Yeah.
Yeah, nearly 22. And just like anything, it's hard. But when you think about it, I'm married to my best friend. So, of course, it's going to be hard. We're going to get into arguments where I'm always going to win, obviously. And all of that. But at the end of the day, you have to remember that you have people, and this, I'm going back to Marlon Brando now. Marlon Brando talked a lot about love and how sometimes he missed that opportunity because he was selfish. And fortunately, my selfishness gifted me Luke. When I say that, it's like I didn't really care about anything else. But yeah, let's go back to Marlon Brando.
Yeah, so, all right.
We haven't even talked about the best movie ever.
Which one?
Obviously, Free Money.
I was thinking about that.
I'm joking. That's not.
So that was one of his late life movies.
Yeah.
I believe it came out in 90. I want to say 96.
Does it have Bobby in it?
No, it didn't. It was Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen, yeah.
Thomas Hayden Church.
That's who I'm thinking
and
of.
Martin Sheen had a cameo at the end.
Yeah. I'm literally just thinking about the back of his. I know it sounds so weird, but the back of Hayden's head.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me of a scene from a Bobby movie. Well, every Bobby movie.
But yeah, that was a very funny. It's a Canadian movie, but it's set in the US, and Brando plays this like massive walrus, like cruel prison warden who's thoroughly corrupt, and he tortures his inmates. Who
politically correct movie by any means.
Oh no, it's not. It's got a scene where he utters a homophobic slur aimed at a woman, and then falls headfirst into a toilet. Now, it was Brando's criticism of the authority figures, I'd say, because he was obviously playing a villain and he was mocking them. And that's kind of so. When I was in university, I did film studies, so I learned to make movies and had to write about them as well. And my final dissertation was about Marlon Brando's changing screen image and how when he first came on the scene, he was like very much the epitome of the rebel. Obviously, there's the famous movie The Wild One. Even if you haven't seen it, you're probably aware of the line. What are you rebelling against, Johnny? What do you got?
Yeah.
But then over time, as he got older, he essentially became the authority figure until the point where he's basically playing God in Superman. Jor-El was essentially God in that movie, sending his only son to Earth to show us the light.
So with Marlon Brando, you see him go from this extremely popular, Oscar award-winning actor to his late life. I think we believe he died when he was 80, didn't he?
Yeah.
In his late life, he was doing movies for the money, and he was not shy about telling people that either.
I think throughout most of his career, he was happy to do movies for the money.
Yeah, but this was desperate times. So it really shows. Not saying that his later movies weren't good. They're not my favorite movies of his, but I think after Apocalypse, for me, that's the shift of me starting over. I go back to the men rather than going to his later movies.
Well, you haven't watched all of them. Dry White Season was solid.
It's got Donald Sutherland in it, doesn't it?
It does, yes. So that's where he's playing a lawyer in apartheid South. I think he said South America then, South Africa.
Yeah.
And that was a movie he did because he believed in it. Now, Marlon Brando was very big in the civil rights movement.
Yes, very much. There's that famous Oscar acceptance speech.
Or non-acceptance speech.
That was done by a beautiful Native woman that I love the fact that he was one of the first people to stand up to the people of the movie making, and he stood up without having to stand up because he let the people that he was supporting stand up.
It would have been better if he was present.
Yeah.
And stood behind
and let
Kathleen Littlefeather and let her do the speech. rather than sending her up there on her own to get booed by
Yeah.
people.
But
And she only got an apology. Yeah,
recently,
within the last sort of 5 years.
yeah,
I think she passed away as well. It was about a year or so before she died.
the way that they treated her and some of the most famous actors at the time,
Yeah.
the way that they treated her when they're sitting in a place that her ancestors and their ancestors made.
Mm-hmm.
Literally. They made this society what it is. And the way that they treated her was not, it was unkind, it was unfair, and it was disgusting.
Yes, so they were essentially. Brando refused the Oscar for The Godfather because he objected to the way that Native Americans were treated
Mhm.
and represented in mainstream Hollywood movies and had always been, essentially cowboys and
Yeah.
Indians, right?
They were always the bad guy or the savage.
Yes, yeah, and he basically said, as long as this continues, I'm not taking part. And that's why he didn't go, but it would have been a stronger message if he went there, said this, and then left everything behind. But anyway, can't change that now.
Yeah, but it goes to show what type of person that he tried to be. He
Yeah.
wasn't always the most stand-up man in his personal life. I know a millionaire owning an island in Tahiti, that can do just about anything he wants, and he did. I know that says a lot about him, but it also says a lot about what he tried to accomplish. Because even before that, he stood with people, other people from the civil rights movement, and there are photographs of him, shaking people's hands and actually talking to them and actually being in the meetings. And you can tell that he isn't just there because of the pictures, because he didn't know at the time there was a particular, who was it that he was meeting, and he didn't realize that they were the ones taking pictures.
I don't recall.
Anyways, sometimes he didn't know that there was going to be media there and stuff like that. He was just genuinely interested in why people weren't being treated like he was.
I think he would describe himself as always being on the side of the little guy.
Yeah.
The people that are marginalized and oppressed. And he didn't think it was fair. Because he came from an impoverished background. His mother was an alcoholic, and both of his parents were alcoholics.
Yeah.
And his father was a traveling salesman, so he didn't see him very much. And when he did, he was not always very pleasant, let's put it that way.
I think those parts of his life as well, not only that, being, a child of an alcoholic. I grew up, I was raised by an alcoholic. I'm not going to diminish that at all, because it's what it is, what it is. And it's awful. It is not a great experience, obviously. So when I read songs my mother taught me, when I was reading the stuff that he was saying about his mother, I feel that that was mostly real, because I had experienced things like that. Obviously, different experiences, but some of them were very, very similar. And the emotions that he went through, I was going through.
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff about the civil rights movement, I come from Oklahoma. I come from a place where sometimes people are taught things that they shouldn't be, and hate is one of those things. My grandparents were very lovely in that regard. But try growing up in schools where it's mostly white men, and their children go to those schools, and then, their cousins and all of that, and they don't like certain people. Think about how a child wants to be. And then, obviously, being neurodivergent and everything, all I wanted was for them to think I was normal. And you have to unlearn things. And I think watching Marlon Brando's movies and learning about him as a person, it helped shape my life, my adulthood in some ways. And it helped me realize that what I was actually thinking about people, whereas I feel that everybody deserves a life that they enjoy. I don't care who you are. There is a way for you to enjoy your life, and it might be hard to get there, but eventually it can. It's going to be an uphill battle, obviously, but we can all get there. And it doesn't matter what religion you are, or the color of your skin, or the way that you speak. And Marlon Brando was so influential to me in that regard that it helped me start the beginnings of getting rid of some of the hate that people had taught me. And I'm very open about this because I'm a human being, and I was a child of Oklahoma. So, anyways, that's me going on a tangent or whatever. But it's just, for me, that's so important that this person who was I think he grew up in Omaha, Nebraska.
He did,
or just outside of it, and that's very close to where I'm from. If you actually want to, we're both from the Midwest. Sometimes it's the Midwest in Oklahoma, sometimes it's the South, depending on the day and the mood.
How about South Midwest?
Sure.
You have to leave the gap, though, because it's not Southwest or South Midwest.
Yeah.
It's South, Midwest.
I think I've probably lost the audience by now. But what I'm trying to say is this person who had such a unique and beautiful career changed my life in so many, there's too many ways to talk about in one podcast, but the two most important things that Marlon Brando taught me was it's not okay to hate, and it's not okay to hate to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
It's not okay, and it never will be. And what you feel on the inside, if you show people that, that's okay if they don't like you for not being just like them. You can love people that other people don't love. And number two, Marlon Brando helped me find my husband. As someone who grew up although I have a brother, we didn't grow up together. I grew up with my grandparents and they raised me, or I lived with them. I kind of raised myself a little bit. But being such a lonely child, and then kind of always wishing and hoping that I would find somebody, just a friend or something. I was so happy when I started talking to Luke, even before it was like love and everything. It was because somebody finally got me to a point that I wasn't the weird, annoying person that was just like had a high-pitched voice and, just always talked about like Marilyn Monroe or Marlon Brando or James Dean, because James Dean was before Brando. But yeah. So if I haven't lost you, yeah, I've gone off topic a little bit, but it's such an important person in my life that I've never even met.
Yeah. I just had a few very quick notes I wanted to cover before we get to the comments. So just quickly, tying up with what Mary was saying about Brando's role in the civil rights movement and the Native American movement as well.
Which is very important to me.
Yes, yeah, of course. So Brando starred in some movies in the early 1950s where he played characters that were of different ethnicities.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Viva Zapata, where he played Emiliano Zapata, the Mexican revolutionary. And he was also in Tea House of the August Moon, where he played a Japanese man.
Not very well, I might add.
No. Well, it was an absurd comedy.
Yeah.
So he really overplayed the part. That's the kind of thing you might get cancelled for now, but back then it was the standard practice. But in later years, as his power grew, he chose to star in movies that were more progressive and gave actors of that specific ethnicity prominent roles. I immediately think of Sayonara, which starred the co-star was a Japanese woman whose
Yes.
name I cannot remember for the life of me at the moment, but she had equal billing with Brando.
Mm-hmm.
And this film came out in 1960, I believe.
I think so. 59 or 60.
Yes, and it was about a US, I believe he was a pilot stationed in Japan, who had some very negative views of Japanese people after the war. But he falls in love with a Japanese woman, and it's about him coming to realize how wrong he was and how he wanted to bring her to America to live with him. It has a very sad ending where, spoilers, it doesn't work out. But he is changed by his experience, and he goes out and he changes other people too. Similarly, he did a movie called Burn or Keyamada, which is probably one of my favourite Brando movies apart from Last Tango in Paris. Apparently it was Marlon Brando's favourite movie of his own, where he plays essentially a British spy who sabotages Portugal's sugar trade on a Caribbean island by starting a revolution among the slaves. But it does not go very well for the slaves that he incites into rebellion.
See, he did movies that had a message.
Yes.
And he did a lot of these movies where it didn't turn out well in the end. And it was great because a lot of actors always want to be the good guy. And what I mean by that is they always want to be the person who saves the whatever thing is happening in the movie. And a lot of the times, Marlon Brando's character did not make it.
No, he often died, but he died making a point, and I think that's what Brando would have loved.
Yeah.
And the last thing I wanted to share is that one of the last things he said on his deathbed was how he desperately wished he could come back to England and go to a small town.
Oh, yeah.
A small village called Selling, which was a few miles from where I grew up. And it's just like a little standard Kentish countryside village.
There's a farm we go to when we're down there that
farm shop,
that we used to go to quite a bit.
Yeah, but there's not really much there. It's just a lot of wilderness. But he wrote his book there. And there was a story a few years ago where they were looking to expand a farm's like warehouses there, and some of the locals wrote in protest saying it would spoil the beautiful scenery, and it got as far as getting to Marlon Brando's old secretary, who wrote a letter of support saying Marlon Brando would not support the expansion of this farm in Selling. There's a photograph of him with, I believe it was his secretary's son, just standing in the country lane in Selling. He looks so happy.
He does.
And I'm just like,
I would be like that one day.
This is so surreal for me. That's just like a street we would just drive down, you know, pay no mind to it at all.
The street that he was on still doesn't actually have pavement, right?
No, it doesn't. It's just a country lane. About enough room for one car to get down, just about, so you're screwed if a car comes the other way. I hate roads like that.
Do you want to know something? How could we forget to talk about A Countess of Hong Kong, a movie that I've watched over 300 times, and that's not an exaggeration. I would watch it before I'd go to sleep.
Well, it's not one of my favourites, but Brando did it because he wanted to work with Charlie Chaplin and then grew to really dislike him by the end of it.
I just love that movie. I can't tell you like a specific reason why, but it's one of those movies that helped me escape my my thoughts before I went to bed with a good amount of medication. But yeah. So I know it's been all over the place and everything, but what is a podcast with me in it that isn't all over the place?
Could we end this segment perhaps with making a movie recommendation for the listeners to check out? If you had to recommend one Brando movie, let's not say Last Tango in Paris.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to recommend that.
Which one would you pick for them to check out?
I'm going to do two because I'm going to cheat.
Okay.
First one, obviously Julius Caesar, because that movie has so many wonderful actors and actresses in it that if you haven't actually watched it, you should, because it's very much Marlon Brando. And although he is not like one of the, he doesn't have the most amount of time on there, there's a good chunk of it, and he's really great with the other people in it. And number two, I want to say Oh, do I want to say The Wild One or The Fugitive Kind?
I would say The Fugitive Kind because
Yeah, The
fewer people have
Fugitive
seen it.
Kind.
But my pick, I'm going to say One-Eyed Jacks,
Oh,
which is the only movie Marlon Brando directed, and it went so massively over budget that it put him off directing ever
yeah.
again. And his first cut was 5 hours long.
Oh, Lord.
And he got very unhappy when the studios cut it down to 2 hours. I wish the 5 hour cut still existed, but apparently all the film was burnt so they could recycle. No, they burnt it so they could recycle the nitrates to make more film in the future.
I thought it was in that big fire.
No. But,
So go watch Julius Caesar, One-Eyed Jacks, and The Fugitive Kind.
I think there's only really one Marlon Brando movie I would say don't watch because it's not very good, and that is The Formula.
I was going to say Free Money, but...
Free Money is at least funny.
It's not my favorite.
No, but if you've never seen any of his movies, start out with the classics.
Yeah, definitely. The Men, I think, is overlooked quite a bit. It was really great. It wasn't his best movie, in my opinion, but it was still really great. And Streetcar Named Desire.
On the Waterfront.
I forgot to mention as well, being a queer person, I looked up to Marlon Brando because of a few things that he said. I don't know how to say this without it being not crass. But Marlon Brando was not against the LGBTQ plus community most of his life.
No, I wouldn't say he was particularly.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, he was always on the side of the oppressed.
Yeah, and that's great. So, let's go to the comments.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a long episode.
It's okay. I probably lost half of the audience, if not more.
All right, so the first comment then is from Lowell Lucas Jr., who says, "Hey, today it's totally Schway, suffering CW in a not-so-subtle way. Formula 8 script's gonna pay." Thank you both for all the great coverage and well wishes. Luke, I don't blame you at all for skipping the CW shows. I wanted to like them, but it felt like a forced commitment instead of enjoying them naturally. Honestly, some of them had this kind of B-, C+ feeling to them, with some exceptions. As for Batwoman, that was such a mess. Way too much Warner Brothers actors, drama, and the backlash was huge. I will share, Mary. I too at least liked Supergirl. Wish she'd got with Hot Jimmy. Lol. And definitely enjoyed King Shark as well as Flash's evil doppelganger, Savitar. Such a badass design. Also, Kevin Conroy was badass as Future Bats. Sorry, no Alfred. As to you, Luke, since you desire an online persona, you shall be known as the goddamn Luke Man, the wacky English DC man with the tagline, undies on the outside, superpower. Oh, I see, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Undies on the outside, superpower. Don't worry. As for Sex and the City, Mary, I won't say anything because I like breathing. Also, I'm not Big Mikey P, but I love Detective Pikachu. I can feel it in my jellies.
I like Detective Pikachu as well, and I don't care if people like Sex and the City or not. I like it, and that's the only thing that matters to me.
I just want to thank you for the well wishes, slowly getting better, and always enjoy what you all share, both our hosts and fans. Luke. I wonder if he means alike. Take care and enjoy the night.
Can you hear my pop socket in the background?
They might be able to.
I just noticed that.
RJ Productions, who I believe it was formerly known as Harry Flew TV. The only Batwoman there is, in my opinion, is Kathy Duquesne in the DCAU. Yeah, nobody remembers her. And it's funny, I got called out for saying that on a Watchtower database video. Can you believe it? Absolute the shade. The gumption of it all.
Hey, you're starting to talk like me now.
I know, I'm picking up your vocabulary.
I still haven't. I think wig, like pull off the wig, is a little bit too new for me. I need to wait about 5 or 6 years to start saying that. So.
Next we have Screenwiper, who says, "As press secretary of Internet Celebrity Chickens, I must speak on the paparazzi photos seen in literally all of the tabloids. Yes, it is true. Wilma did indeed need to go to the hospital on Friday, 21st of March. I can reassure her millions of fans across the world that she is expected to make a full recovery and is well today."
Good.
Details in the comments of last week's Totally Schway or in the audio of next week's Totally Schway. I think we might have already spoken about that. I could be mixing things up, though. Here we go. Next, we have a novel in the form of Mikey P. Big Mikey P's comment, Michael Andre Parla.
Tell us that he has the beautiful, creative touch to write a beautiful comment.
I wish I had the time to write lengthy comments. Right, so next he says, I swear this got timed on planned purpose alongside Watchtower Database's Mystery of the Batwoman vid. It didn't. They didn't give me a heads up that they were doing it, and as I mentioned earlier,
I'm the one that picked it.
yeah, I didn't get heads up that James was going to throw shade at my Batwoman video. How
What?
could he? I know, he's...
What happened?
I told you about this.
Have I slept since then?
Yes, you have.
What happened? Tell me.
So he in his video talking about when you should watch Mystery of the Batwoman in the timeline, he's like, you know, if I was going to be like all clickbaity and salacious, I'd be writing this video title as, you know, the most overlooked or the most forgotten Batman movie, or the Batman movie you've never seen. And he went, oh wait, sorry, Serum Lake already did that.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like our podcast. I was like,
no, my Batwoman video. Unbelievable. I was outraged. Literally, like, rendered the flesh from my cheeks, rubbed soil into my hair, screaming, weeping. Anyway, to continue, Big Mikey Peace comment. Supergirl's a good show, though it did get rough later, like how it broke up, say, a certain sapphic couple, and how some characters became, I don't know, out of character, insufferable. Batman on daytime is sometimes weird, unless he's with the Justice League or on a shadowy place, like boarded down indoors. Batwoman the show and also the accompaniment Titan show sure is excessive, and not in a good way that Kung Fu Hustle, the first Kingsman movie, there we go, Kill la Kill, and the recent Bullet Train movie balance well. The Crow's training regimen may make perfect sense for a blacker than black penal battalion. Yes, even I'll be tempted to give that a multiversal operative chic too. It's inevitable. Yes, it is. It absolutely is. Sorry, don't get the hype on Sex and the City, Mary. That's like a Naruto of American live-action television.
I actually understand what you're saying there. Okay. But I like Sex and the City, and that's all that matters. I've told myself that that's what I'm going to say to people.
But I admit that the show is more than sex, despite the title. Okay. Painstakingly ironic, Marvel's live-action shows having better choreography than DC's. Still, I prefer animated show and movie choreography. There's just so much freedom doing those without needing risky stunts. Sorry, Tom Cruise. And artificial-seeming stunt doubles. Though I may be hypocritical, since stunt doubles martial arts choreographers can be used for reference in well-liked animated works like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Why even need that husband character again? Seriously, that brings into mind how I didn't like Lauren Faust's DC superhero girls much because of how the male superheroes seemed too condescending and flattering to the main superheroines. Where's the passionate effort to make him an ex-boyfriend or sexually incompatible Kate Kane? Excuse me. Albeit a surprisingly wholesome and very understanding wingman who can even help out Kate's girlfriend, potential wife, and of course Kate's Batwoman shtick unconditionally at that, cause I would prefer such a character. No, Nocturna isn't in Batman the Brave and the Bold. I didn't think she was. I'd like to think Warner Brothers is more on the right against Ruby Rose. Actors can be more infuriating than even stereotypically demonized execs, unfortunately speaking. 3335, yet again, timestamping. Anyways, I think I get suspended because I comment too much on singular channels. Like, what's wrong with commenting lots on numerous girls and panzer vids? I'm not a sex bot, spam bot. Reporting. Yeah, he's just... I'm glad you admitted it, Michael. Admitting it is half the battle.
He said he wasn't.
I know. That's the joke I'm making.
Okay.
I'm not a sex bot, spam bot worth reporting.
I believe you.
Oh, well, time will tell how Mickey 17 ages years later. Beats the mixed reviews Disney Snow White remake, though. I think the thing with Disney Snow White is that it's a movie made for very small children. And I think comparing it to the animated version, which, you know, a lot of us probably saw when we were very small, so it may hold a special place in our hearts, is doing it a disservice.
I just don't think it needed to be remade. They could have just, like... had like an extended version.
Yeah, well, I wish we'd get back to more traditional animation.
But, you know, whatever. It'll probably be all right. I won't be watching it for multiple reasons. One, I wasn't really the biggest fan of Snow White. And two, I don't know what the second reason is.
Because I don't want to.
Well, yeah, because I don't want to.
Continuing the comment, 3730. Look up Doremi Harukaze. She's the poster girl for Odango dumpling hair. Amusingly, she has very long hair, knee length perhaps. In the rare times it's let down. Doremi, Doremi.
E-M-I.
Harukaze, Harukaze. I prefer O'Reilly's, especially in case the clone Ben is adopted by legit kind Irish folk. Oh, no, I'm getting confused. I was going to say what for Orion, but no. Batman can fit in Disney. It just has to be a DCAU. Even better if it's Terry McGinnis Batman Beyond due to Kevin Conroy's passing. 2004 and all the Brave and the Bold cartoon iterations. Detective Pikachu is good, but not as worth the hype as I had hoped for. Just not that big a Pokemon fan myself, though stuff like Concierge may make me come back to the fold at times. I just noticed 2019 wasn't a fabulous year for movies. Yes, that year had Avengers Endgame, Jordan Peele's Us, Joker and Toy Story 4, but they didn't blow my mind when compared to prior and later movies like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Beyond the Spider-Verse. Shame they got delayed because of over-complainers, those lying, exaggerating, overworked animation jerks. Hey, that's not a very nice thing to say. I bet they are overworked.
Hey, Big Mikey P, I challenge you to do something. So with the Remy Harukaze or Harukaze, I challenge you to have a window open of that character and then put the strawberry shortcake character next to it.
Oh, it looks like strawberry shortcake, does it?
Okay. It's not a bad thing. I find that interesting because when I first saw, because I did just Google it, character looks cool, by the way. It reminded me of strawberry shortcake, which my friend was obsessed with.
Mm-hmm. I've lost my place. He called these animation workers, jerks. It's not a very nice thing to say, Big Mikey P. Animation show sequels, flicks like Girls und Panzer der Film. Highly recommend that anime saga out, Luke and Mary, and follow commenters, viewers. At best, it'll surprise initially apathetic first-timers. The aforementioned First Kingsman sequels and prequel are non-canon to me, and maybe The Batman 2022. Well, Endgame and even Us and Toy Story 4 did fulfill the hype, but over the years, the joy started to sap. Do not recommend any of the live-action Lion King stuff. Would recommend the direct-to-video animated sequel and interquel instead.
I told my cat Apollo that we would sit down and watch a little bit of Mufasa. And I put it on when he wasn't in the room, and Gilly had no interest in it.
No.
But I bet you Mr. Baby will be like, yeah, more kitties.
Heard the Harley Quinn show's 5th season feels like a proper finale in case of season 6 will never be greenlit. You've just reminded me, I need to watch that. I haven't got around to it yet. 5708. Gal Gadot. Yeah, she's having a hard time with the Snow White remake lately, plus some ultimately sympathetic pro-Palestinian protesters doing the round. 1 hour and 34 seconds. I haven't made any arguments against, just giving media suggestions out of curiosity. Also, I have to ask, why am I always served 404 when trying to check Julia's own comments? Have I got muted or something? No, I don't think that's how it works. So the muted thing is you'll leave your comment and it looks like it works for you, but no one else will see them.
Yeah, YouTube has been doing that to me with comments, because I'll see a comment on my phone, because with the app, one of the apps, it tells you if somebody's commented, and when I try to go on it, it literally does the same thing to me, and I'm not sure why it does that.
Yeah, if you're using the YouTube mobile app, sometimes it just doesn't like it when you reply to comments. Like when I use the app to respond to times when people mention me, it doesn't work, so I end up having to just go find the video and then find the comment and then reply from there. You could also try on your computer that and see if the problem persists. If the problem persists on your computer, then it suggests that there is something wrong somewhere else. But anyway, we've almost finished the comment. So 1 hour, 3 minutes and 30 seconds arguably beats Miraculous Ladybug's Send. Love it, hate it, fanfic-esque stuff. 1 hour and 4 minutes. Am more a Phantom Strider guy myself. Marlon Brando next. Will there be something about Lance Henriksen later on? Don't think so. I mean, I like Lance Henriksen, but Mary hasn't really seen much stuff with him in.
But I don't know why. Flash. Oh.
That's not Lance Henriksen.
No, I don't know why that came in my head.
Lance Henriksen is probably best known for being the bishop in the Alien movies.
I haven't seen the Alien movies.
Maybe we'll fix that then. There's a totally Schway topic for you.
I think it was either my brother or my stepdad liked those movies, but I never sat down and watched them with them though. I was probably too busy playing with one of the animals I had.
All right, well, thank you as ever, Big Mikey P, for your comment. Moving on to Doc Widener, whose comment works this time.
Yeah.
It says, thank goodness you're here. Once Mary plays the game, plan to switch to mind the... I don't even know how to say this word. Zagapnobet you playing Fallout London. I wonder if that was just a typo in there. Speaking of Fallout, the leaked photos from Season 2 of the Vegas Strip look great as long as one isn't too pedantic. Watch this. Downside of being a completionist, excuse me. Probably my least favourite of the CWDC shows. In my opinion, decided I needed to tier list these, so added blank lines, but Superman and Lois would be in the top tier of the CWDC shows. So at the top, Superman and Lois, followed by Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and Arrow in what would be the A tier. Superman, Black Lightning, and Stargirl in the B tier, and Batwoman in C. Well, there we go. And I think if I put this list with other comic shows, there would be where something like Penguin would be S tier, Superman and Lois might be B tier. Oh, well, I've got that tier list all entirely wrong there. They are fine, but watched them mostly because my nephew liked The Flash, so I watched that for him. And then the completionist thing kicked in. So Flash, Legends, and Arrow would be the next tier, Supergirl, Black Lightning, and Stargirl in the next. Though I think none of those hit the highs of Flash or Arrow, but also didn't hit the lows that two hit in some of their later seasons. Legends, in my opinion, was the only one that got better over time. Batwoman was the lowest tier. Nothing the MCU has put out has been as bad as Batwoman, and yes, I have seen Secret Invasion. Maybe if Secret Invasion did have Olivia Colman and Samuel L. Jackson, or didn't have, I suppose. I did like some things like Luke Fox, but the show felt aimless and it didn't help Ruby Rose left after season 1. Alice ended up being predictable, but at times interesting as a villain. Spoilers for the show. Okay, here we go. There is no mention of Alfred's fate, but his daughter shows up about a third of the way through the season. Batman killed the Joker and left Gotham. Looks like he comes back, but does not. As for the villains, Poison Ivy was teased at the end of season 3, but since the show stopped there, a tease is all you get. At least for Pamela Isley, you do get someone influenced by her tech. Mad Hatter shows up, a twist on Mr. Freeze. I can't recall if this came out in episode 1, but basically all of Batman's trophies were released into the world, so Batwoman had to get them back. No, that wasn't in episode 1. So usually you get something slightly or very different from the original villain. Hush, Enigma, who may or may not be related to the Riddler. Renee Montoya shows up eventually. I've been enjoying Daredevil Born Again. I'd give it a few episodes before deciding to continue or not. They filmed part of it. When the strikes happened, Feige got involved a bit with Time to Kill and listened to issues that Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio, I think that's how you say his name, had, and they changed showrunners, shot new footage, reworked some things, tied it back to the Netflix show more than they had planned, so from time to time you can see the seams where they'd stitched stuff together. But anytime Vincent and Charlie are on the screen together, it's fantastic. Also when John Bernthal and Charlie are on the screen together. I'm almost done with this season of Harley. I finished Severance. I've been interested on your thoughts, especially the visual and stylistic elements of the closing shot of the season 2 finale. Well, we haven't watched it yet, have we, Mary?
I was thinking about starting it last night, but both of us were just really tired.
Yeah. I'm actually a little bit behind on my video stuff, so.
Because our cat keeps waking us up. And okay, here, I'm going to tell you this right now because I'm a bit pissed off about it. We were both sleeping last night, and then I wake up in the middle of the night about 5-6 times a night, brain problems. But Gilly comes in, jumps on me. I think he jumped on Luke before that, so Luke was probably awake. And he has this thing about the George prints we have over the bed. He wants them down. And I don't know why. And then we have them up with command strips. And what does he do last night? He knocks one down.
Yeah.
And it falls on my wrist and my face.
Yes. So we have George Kaltsoudas' Batman the Animated Series prints kind of.
You can see.
Like almost like a frame around the bed, I suppose.
Yeah.
And Gilgamesh tries to pull them off. And I guess he succeeded last night.
He's bored.
Well, he wants us to get up as well, but I shouted at him, chased him out of the room, and then shut the door.
Which we never do, because that's their room as much as it is ours. But oh my God, I was so confused more than anything. But yeah.
But yeah, we will watch it at some point, and maybe we'll be able to get back to you on that. I'm still occasionally coughing stuff up from the illness I mentioned in the comments of the Lex video. Missed most of a week of work. Tried to work remotely, managed 5 hours one day and only half an hour the next. Negative for COVID, but felt COVID-like. Exhaustion and brain fog and just gunk in the lungs. We had something like that back in January. It took about 3 weeks to clear, and even then we felt rough for a little while afterwards. Managed to get to the video close to release and watched while making pancakes. Need to get a shower and shave and get Daniel to PSR. Once again, I had a lovely brunch. I hope Lowell's eyes are getting better. I have had some days with a ton of floaters on one eye, which can be a bit disorienting, but thankfully it's not painful. Oh, and Luke, I hope the cross-pollination worked out. Absolutely did not. Yes, Brando, many thoughts. The bagel story about Superman. Yes. He wanted Jor-El to basically be a floating bagel instead of a person.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, I mean, basically, he was just being lazy. He didn't want to be on screen. He was just like, I could just give you a voiceover. Method folks can be a bit weird, but I adored him in Don Juan DeMarco. Yes, that's another very good.
Yes, I love that.
Lots of other great roles. I'll have more to say after the video in 2 weeks.
Don Juan DeMarco.
Yes, that's one I should get. My niece is, well, she was very into Johnny Depp movies.
I think she still is.
Yeah, so I don't know if she's seen Don Juan DeMarco. I'll have to ask her.
Your mom would like that movie too, wouldn't she?
I think she does like that movie. Next, we have A1ML33Y, which is Julia Raoul, who says, "Hello, true believers, Mary Marvel and the legendary Star-Lord Luke Wilson. Ouch. It's me, Julia the Grandmaster, and let me tell you why I like CW Batwoman and why I like the comics too. First off, I like Kate's story in the comics, written by Greg Rucka and illustrated by J.H. Williams III. I enjoy the soap opera and the Art Deco style trippy art by J.H. Really added so much to the story and made me a fan. I love the CW show was good, and I like Ruby Rose as Kate. I was expecting the visual of the show to be more trippy. I like Batwoman and Supergirl team up in the show. That made me happy. I really wanted to see more of that. But that's me. Shame how in the New 52 didn't let Kate and Maggie get married. Now that on top of how bad it was to all my favourite characters. Oof. Anyway, no, Big Mikey P, I haven't read the novelizations of Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, but if it's in audiobook form, I'll check it out. If they are read by Arnold Schwarzenegger and Uma Thurman, that would actually be very good.
Can you say that clearly again?
If the audiobooks of Batman Forever and Batman and Robin were read by Arnold Schwarzenegger and Uma Thurman.
Even I would listen to that, honestly. Like, I would pay double for that.
Anyway, I'm currently playing the Guardians of the Galaxy video game and having a great time unlocking their MCU costumes. I have a question, Luke. Why can't DC, Warner Brothers Games, make a good game with all the space cosmic characters? Why can't DC do Guardians of the Galaxy with Green Lanterns, Legion of Superheroes, and Lobo? Until next time, Excelsior. Well, I think part of the problem is most people tend to only really buy their Batman games. So they are knuckling down on that. I think that would probably be it. I don't know that they're not capable of it. They haven't just been able to nail it yet. Anyway, next comment, David Carney, who says, "Hi Mary and Luke, always enjoyed Legends of Tomorrow. I did like season 1 of Batwoman, wasn't keen on season 2, then half of season 3 was moved to an early hours of the morning and I never really invested in it to finish it. Alice was my favourite character. Got a match to go to, just played it and made it through the cup. Have a great week, both of you." Thank you, David. Right, next we have Ryan Jones, who says, "I only watched the comments and skipped the main part of the episode this week. Oh, my heart wounded by betrayal from Ryan Jones." When my sorry.
I was just about to say, you do what you need to do.
Yeah, it's fine, I'm only teasing.
Yeah.
When my old dog Cole was alive, we watched Homeward Bound and when Shadow fell down in the mud and couldn't climb back up and say to change it, I couldn't do it. Go without me, I'm too old. He wasn't interested, so yeah, I do understand why pets leave when the sad scene of the movie comes up. Luke, yeah, my disinterest of the Arrowverse is similar to yours, and also because there's other stuff I want to do with my life. Mary, do not feed I repeat, do not feed the seagulls. They are evil, evil, greedy little devils, and even if you don't feed them, they still steal your food. I know this because they stole my food at the beach once, so take it from me.
I just can't with seagulls. Most animals I'm good with, but seagulls, it's just like I wanted those chips. Like I really wanted those chips, but I chose life.
You are right, Mary. You shouldn't apologise for an opinion. I like a Disney movie called Wish, but unfortunately many people on the internet hated it.
Wait.
And some over-exaggerate their opinion of it by calling it the worst Disney movie ever, totally ignorant of the fact that Disney live-action remakes and the direct-to-video sequels exist. Which one was Wish?
Wait, I know about this one. I haven't seen it, but I've actually heard a few people saying nice things about it. Good for you.
I know that Wish is the movie that celebrates Disney's 100th anniversary, but the project that truly celebrates it, in my opinion, is a short called Once Upon a Studio, and it made me cry because it was everything I ever wanted ever since I was a child. Speaking of Disney's live-action remakes, as a huge Disney fan, I find them absolutely pointless to exist, and the Snow White one, in my opinion, is the one that shouldn't touch because of its historical significance to not only Disney but also animation, now because of existence of nothing in Hollywood is sacred anymore. I have watched the only to say that I have seen it. Oh, I've watched it only to say that I have seen it, and the movie was fine, but it doesn't make it any less pointless. There's also some controversy because of Rachel Zegler, the actress who plays Snow White, with some hot takes about the original movie, which I don't agree with, but the other half of people that are completely and don't agree with her are nothing more than right-wing grifters pretending to care about the original movie, but really they hate her because she's a woman of colour. Mm-hmm. And YouTube, for some reason, recently started bumping out Rachel Zegler as woke garbage videos to me. But it was a useful way because I can identify channels to never recommend them to me. Yes, that is the good thing. And you can also say, I am not interested in this, and the algorithm will learn.
You want to know something? Both of these actresses have had really, really bad things said about them online. Do I agree with everything that they say? Absolutely not. But I also don't agree with what Luke says sometimes. But why does it give people the right to... I have seen some absolutely disgusting, to the point that in some places they could be arrested for saying these things.
Yes.
These women don't deserve that. Obviously, I don't know political affiliations or anything like that because I've chosen to save my soul for a little bit. But it doesn't matter what your political affiliation is. You don't deserve death threats in any form or fashion. It is not okay. And if you're one of those people that do that, I am so disappointed.
And she's not talking to Ryan at this point in time.
Oh, God, no. I'm just saying, like...
You're saying collective view, not like...
Not any... I don't think anybody that listens to us would do that, but it's just stuff that I have seen on TikTok and some on YouTube as well, but thankfully YouTube, nips that in the bud. But I just felt like I needed to say something because we go to the movies to get away from things, or we go because we want some form of enjoyment. If you don't like a movie, do what we do.
Just go, didn't like it.
Like, we're just saying, like, don't want to see that. Don't need to see that. That's fine. You don't have to make death threats because you don't like something, or because you don't, enjoy the person or whatever. How about this? Just don't watch their movies and just, ignore them. That's what I do with some people. Mm-hmm. Like R. Kelly.
Yep. Just to conclude Ryan's comment, he says, I forgot to say this in the last episode, but I'm glad that my comment about my optimism gives you hope, Mary, and it makes me sad when people lose their optimism. But I hope you have it back someday.
I think I will. That's one of the reasons I love all of you guys, is because you give me hope. And like I said in the last podcast, it's extremely crappy sometimes to lose optimism, but as a 30-something-year-old person, although that glitch was on purpose, I feel that I think I'm starting to come into my own. I'm a late bloomer. And I think once I do that, I will hopefully gain more optimism. But also, I'll gain it in part because of all of you. each and every one of you have, helped me get through some times that I needed help with. So thank you. And thank you so much for talking about optimism.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you, Ryan. Always appreciate your comments.
Of course. And I like the fact that you guys also, a lot of you think the same way that I do. So it's nice.
All right, on to the last comment of this episode, and it is from Belmont GR, who says, "Believe it or not, I'm a huge fan of the Arrowverse. I don't like all of the shows, but I enjoyed the continuity. My favourite was Arrow, but I enjoyed some others like Supergirl Season 4, Batwoman Season 1 is good. I enjoyed The Flash Seasons 1. In the end, it was fan turning it into a TV comics fix 3 times per week. I also love the Netflix Marvel series. By the way, I think that Conroy was wasted. In Batwoman, some original Batman villains actually return. But I kind of liked how they did it." Well, that's fair enough. You're perfectly entitled to your opinions and your tastes. As we always say, the world would be a very boring place if we all liked exactly the same things.
Yeah, and mind you, we haven't watched the rest of the season. So it's our loss, isn't it?
Is it?
So, what is the next episode going to be about, Mr. Serum Lake?
All right, we just conferred briefly.
Yeah,
offline.
You guys have probably heard me talk about Minecraft, the video game, a few times because I play that game to help me relax, and as somebody that has ADHD, I need something like that to do that. And fortunately, I've been playing it since 2011 or 2012. I can't remember which year.
I think it was earlier than that. I think it was like 2010.
Oh, maybe.
When it first came out, you
on
it quite quickly.
Oh, yeah. So I love that. So I went to go see the movie today.
Yeah.
Luke actually took me to go see it, which is really cool. And I actually want to talk about it. And I want to talk a little bit about Minecraft and some games like that.
Yeah, so this is your 2-week warning. If you want to participate in the conversation about the Minecraft movie, you got 2 weeks to go see it.
We're also going to talk about the video game as well.
Well, you can, I can't.
Yeah, me. I said me. All right, guys. I hope now that the sun is coming out for a lot of us that it helps with a lot of what's going on in the world. I hope the sunshine kind of washes everything out, even if it's just for a few minutes. This world is a crazy place and crazy things are happening, but you have to remember to take care of yourself. Like I said, drink water, be kind to yourself, and remember, just be yourself and don't kill anybody.
I promise nothing.
All right, I love you guys so much. And again, please, please, please drink some water. Put down the Diet Coke for a few minutes. Drink the water. I'm telling that to myself. All right, I love you guys. Bye.